The majority of critics are hating this film. The majority of audiences are loving this film. So the question is, which side am I on? The critics or the audiences? I went into this film last night with an open mind, and I came out of the theater, and I picked a side. Can you guess which side it is? Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts, and this is my non-spoiler review for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I will not get into any spoilers in this video. Tomorrow on the podcast, I will be releasing my full spoiler review for the film, but for this, no spoilers, don't worry. Now, originally, I was thinking about making this review a jump cut review where I get really polished and clean and get right to the point. But that's not me. I want to make a long video with no jump cuts and just get to what I have to say in a video and no jump cuts and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm doing. So let's jump into the actual film now, okay? So, first things first, as you all should know, this is a very long film, and that could be a critique or that could be a very positive, depending on how you felt about the film overall. And as you saw at the beginning of this video, I love this movie. It's 2.5 hours long. There's a 3-hour edition coming on Blu-ray at some point, so there's even a longer version of this film. But for me, coming out of the film, I really enjoyed it, and hearing all the critics being negative, and like going back and seeing certain critics that have reviewed the film, and going over it again after I saw the film, and like non-spoiler reviews, obviously, and seeing a lot of their critiques, I was very confused, because the things they're saying that wasn't in the film, and they didn't feel it, I'm like, did you watch the same film as me? That's what I felt personally, because I came out of the film opposite most of these critics that are bashing the film. I love the film. It's a slow burn at first, okay? So at the beginning of the film, it's a slow burn. It's building up. There's some great dialogue scenes, some great moments, but you have to have that build up for what's to come later in the film when the pacing picks up, and it picks up good, and it picks up crazy fast. But it's good. It works for the film for me personally. I felt like if the beginning of this film was not a slow burn, and literally the first 20 minutes of the film, Batman and Superman are already fighting in the film, I would have been heavily bothered by it. I would have probably still liked it visually, but it would have not made sense to me personally because there was no build-up, okay? Because you're introducing Batman for the first time in this DC extended universe, the DC cinematic universe, and you're going to immediately put them into a fight within the first 20 minutes of a 2.5-hour-long film. It makes no sense. So for the build-up to introduce Batman, to introduce, Alfred, to introduce all these other elements that slowly builds up to what happens later in the film, it needed to happen that way personally. So I have to give them that for giving that slow burn. So sit back and relax and enjoy the film. And so when you begin the film, you're going to see some great scenes, some great moments, but you have to wait because they're slowly building to what you want to see in the film, which is Batman v Superman. Let's get to some of the cast members that I do want to talk about. So first things first, let's talk about Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne / Batman. I remember the day when they announced his casting. People were losing their minds. The internet exploded. Hatred, negativity, backlash, anything you can think of, tons of things were being posted, articles, and people posting on their Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, hating this idea. Ben Affleck is Bruce Wayne. Ben Affleck is Batman. Oh my God. He was so good in this film. Everybody who hated his casting back when he was first announced a couple years ago, they are so dead wrong. Oh my God. What I really found interesting about this is that, obviously, he's great in the film, like I was been saying. Great dialogue scenes, some great fighting. He performs great as Bruce Wayne, but he performs even better as Batman, in my personal opinion. But both are still great, both personas, Bruce Wayne and the Batman persona. That, the critics that have been hating on this film, have been bashing this film, a lot of the critics that are not liking this film and hating this film list Ben Affleck as a positive. Because for me personally, Ben Affleck is the best part about this film. He really is. Now, that's not bashing the other actors in this film, but for me personally, he gave a performance that it felt like to me that he took it an extra step further to further prove to all those haters, I can do this. And he does it extremely well. He has some amazing fight scenes in this movie. I'm just blown away. I cannot wait to see the Batman solo film. They beautifully set that up in this film. Henry Cavill as Superman. Once again, a phenomenal performance once again from Henry Cavill. I really enjoyed his performance in Man of Steel, but I really enjoyed his performance in this film as well. You know, critics have been attacking and saying that his performance is lifeless and he was giving some bad lines and all this kind of stuff. I felt like he did a phenomenal job, and he performed as he should have, which is being Superman, okay? There's a lot of great stuff that's happening in the film plot-wise that could get into some spoilers. Well, not really, because they gave it away in some trailers, but essentially, you know, half the people in the world are afraid of Superman. So they really play that up, and Henry Cavill, I felt like, did a phenomenal job with that aspect, because they could have clearly just shoehorned it and said, the Man of Steel, that stuff never happened, that half Metropolis being destroyed. They covered it, and Henry Cavill was right in the center of it, and it really felt that that all the people that hate on Man of Steel, saying that the ending was horrible because they destroyed half Metropolis, they go through that in this film. They go through that destruction, and that the film was solely focused around the ending of Man of Steel. So I don't know where this criticism is about, you know, Superman wasn't really in this film. Of course he was in this film. He did a phenomenal job, Henry Cavill did. Let's talk about some of the other new cast members. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Now, another controversial casting. People have been hating on this and saying, oh my god, what were they thinking? It was basically like Ben Affleck, it just happened again a couple months later. Whenever they announced him, it was just like another hate storm on the internet. For me personally, Jesse Eisenberg gave an interesting performance. The more I saw him on screen, the more I bought into his character. I'm not going to go into too much detail because they hid some of the stuff that he does in this film and what his involvement is with the plot in this film from the trailer, so that's going to get into kind of spoilery territory. But you really get to see a side of him that is quite disturbing, and I think that's in a good way, because you don't want Lex Luthor just to be just a one-note guy. You want Lex Luthor to be multiple notes and keeps you guessing. Like, I kept guessing, like, what's he going to say next? Like, what the hell, man? He's crazy, but who knows? We'll see what happens. And he just keeps giving this really interesting performance that I think will make audiences question whether they like him or not, and I think it will just be ultimately divided. It'll be a divided thing. Either you love his performance or you hate his performance. And for me, I'm in that middle mindset where I enjoyed it. I like what he did. I still wish they could have cast somebody better, but that's just me personally. But for what he did, it was pretty interesting, and it really moved the story along, and I really felt at the end of this film that he has turned into the Lex Luthor we kind of want to see, in a sense. So we'll see where they take that, and we'll see where they take in that direction with that aspect. But Jesse Eisenberg gave a pretty interesting performance. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, another controversial casting. Like, you know, it feels like Batman v Superman is just the controversial casting. They should have called it Batman v Superman Controversial Casting of Justice. Something like that. But Gal Gadot in this film is a small role, not to the point of cameo, but when she shows up as Wonder Woman, holy Jesus. You see in the trailers, it's phenomenal. Oh my god, it was so good. She did a great job in this film, and this film does nicely set up the Wonder Woman standalone film. It makes you want to see the Wonder Woman standalone film, is what I meant to say. Because the way they set up her character in this film, like, you want to learn more about her, because they're kind of vague a little bit, because they want to, because they know the Wonder Woman film's coming next year. So in this film, they introduce her, but then keep it kind of vague so you can learn more about her in the solo film, which I'm more excited to see. I think she did a phenomenal job there. Amy Adams as Lois Lane, another great performance once again. She did great in Man of Steel. I felt like she did great here once again. They gave a really cool plot device. Well, basically the main plot of the film that's kind of happening, which they've hid from the trailers, that she's involved in. They could have easily just not had her involved and to just have her on the sidelines and just be like, yeah, Clark, Superman, yay, I'm your cheerleader. No, they got her involved in this film in a great way, and I have to give them props for that, because they could have easily just threw her to the side and said, nah, we'll just deal with that later, you know, we'll get to her at some other point. But they involved her in the film pretty well with some of the plot, so I gotta give them props for that. Last person I do want to talk about casting wise is Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I really enjoyed his Alfred. It's different from our past live action Alfreds. Some people have said it's compared to the Batman animated series Alfred, which I do have to agree, because they both have some similarities. But this Alfred is more tech and more involved with helping Batman with creating suits and all that kind of stuff and being more involved. So I like the fact that they're going with that different version of Alfred. So once again, just like Ben Affleck, it sets up beautifully the solo Batman film. That's what it does. So overall, you know, this film is phenomenal, and I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed the fighting between Batman and Superman. I didn't talk about it much in this film, but you've seen the trailers, the fight, and it's great. It's great. It's awesome. I loved it. And they really hid some really cool stuff from the trailer. I'm so glad they didn't reveal too much in the trailer on that aspect. Doomsday, of course, shows up at the end of the film, and that fight was intense as well. I'm not going to get into any details about that, but woo, man, Zack Snyder shot beautifully the Batman and Superman fight and the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman Doomsday fight. Great stuff. Really, really great stuff. My only real big critique that I could say about this film, besides me kind of iffy about Jesse Eisenberg, my only real big critique, I guess I could say, is that you can tell that there was some scenes that were abruptly ending and jumping to another scene or something like that, where scenes were not extended a little bit. And I think with the 3-hour version that will fix some of the problems. But I feel like that, you know, they could have did some better editing on the sense of how scenes end and what they jump to. And some critics have been saying that the pacing and that the scenes that's changed, you know, from scene to scene doesn't make any sense. If you're focused and, you know, focused on this film and you are paying attention, when it jumps from scene to scene, even though sometimes it could feel like they could have waited a couple more seconds before cutting away and they could have did some more fixing with how this plays out, but it's fine. It works. I fully understand what was happening. And one last thing I do want to mention about the critics that were saying that all the different plots that are happening in this film, they never connect. They never come together. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. It is bullshit. All the plots that are happening in this film come together. They do, okay? So I don't know where that aspect of all the different plots that are happening in this movie, they don't come together. They don't work. Yeah, it does. Like, what were you watching? Like, were you facing away from the screen when it's playing back there? Is that what it was? Because it felt like to me that's what's happening to some of these critics, because they connect. I don't understand. So I'll put more in the description about stuff that I felt about this film. Batman v Superman is a great film. It blew me away. Could it have been better with casting choices on the Lex Luthor front and editing wise with some of the scenes? Sure. But what we got was, I felt, a great way to push ahead and kickstart the DC Extended Universe, the DC Cinematic Universe. I call it that. I know it's not the real thing. It's the DC Extended Universe. It's the DC Cinematic Universe. A great way to introduce it. I really feel that. So, I know this review just jumps all over the place, talking about casting and all this kind of stuff, but look. Go see the film yourself. Even if you agree or disagree with me on my opinion and you're like, I can't wait to see this movie, I can't wait to see this movie. Or you haven't seen the film and you're just like, well, you know, you're just some guy who just saw the film and you're praising it. If you had any interest in seeing this film, go see the film. It will be worth it. Trust me. So there you have it, guys. That is my review for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. A great film. My personal rating for the film, people have been asking for my rating since last night. My rating has to be a 9 out of 10. I might go to 9.5, but for right now it's a 9. I want to see the film again. I want to experience it again. And then I'll definitely know for sure if it's going to be a 9 or a 9.5, or it could go lower, but I think it won't. But a 9 out of 10, a great film. Some editing could have been fixed a little bit, but overall, it's so good, and they set up a lot of great stuff. There's so many Easter eggs. I cannot wait for the 3-hour version, and I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see the solo Wonder Woman film. Can't wait to see what happens in Justice League Part 1. It's going to be good. So there you have it, guys. That's my review. I'm done rambling, done talking. Peace out.